All right. Well, welcome to the September 4th, 2024 MSK Innovations pitch event. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We've got three great companies, and I'm excited to hear from each of them. And as you can see, we've got my partner TJ, and we've got two of the three panelists. It never fails that at least one person on every webinar has to have some technical difficulties. So today we didn't want to disappoint you all. So one of our panelists, Andy Lombard, is still navigating through the interwebs, trying to find his way here. So I do want to thank all of our attendees for joining us. We had almost 100 people registered today. So we exist at MSK Innovations to help innovators access capital through this platform. We call it smart money. It also includes some accredited and institutional investors as well. My name is Drew DeAngelis, the managing partner of the DeAngelis Group, an executive search firm focused on small to mid-sized companies in the MSK space. So in addition to recruiting exceptional talent, this platform is another way that we like to assist innovators in the MSK space. So before I introduce our distinguished panel, it's important that I note that we're not broker dealers. We're not investment advisors. This venue is for informational purposes only. So these pitches are for you to gain some insights and some information, and we invite you to ask questions in the chat. Obviously, our panel are here to ask questions and gain insights as well. So if you're not seeing the information that you're curious to find out, do put a question in the questions in the chat. And if there's time and we haven't already heard the question, we'll ask it for you. So I just want to introduce both of our current panelists have been on before. We've got Chris Lyons. Chris Lyons, of course, a staple from MNVC, which is coming up in the fall.
Did Drew go mute?
Drew, we lost you there.
We lost you. I was checking my headphones.
A bad connection.
Just use your hand, just use sign language.
Can't hear you, Drew. You got nothing.
Let's see.
I think we're gonna have to do it live.
Hey, I can.
Bill O'Reilly says
I'll intro myself.
So, Chris, why don't we have you give us a little intro here while Drew figures out his technical difficulties?
No problem.
And to Jeff, and we'll
no problem.
keep it rolling. So,
I'm CEO of Southern Metrics Consulting because it doesn't really matter what any of us are doing; it's all about the data. At the end of the day, what I do is I help from a sales side standpoint after years of serving at Medtronic Spine in the BD role in Memphis. And so I've seen a ton of companies. I know what's hot. I know where we need to be going as an industry, hoping that the world continues to work with us in that, VCs and otherwise. It would be good for even more money freeing up. But nonetheless, excited to be here with you guys and looking forward to the presentations.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Jeff, how about a short little introduction?
Sure. Jeff O'Donnell Jr. I've spent my entire career between the orthopedic and cardiovascular space in the medical device industry, always on the sales and marketing side of the business, spanning product development at times as well. About 3 years ago, I joined a firm called Runway Healthcare, which is a venture studio, which means that we invest both capital and management to accelerate our portfolio companies from seed stage concepts through FDA approval, and then hopefully transfer them to existing commercial entities. So we have two active funds, Runway 1 and Runway 2, and 3 portfolio companies in the MSK space right now. My daily role, in addition to being a general partner in the fund, is I act as the CEO of all the portfolio companies.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Chris. With that, let's pass it over to Erez with PathKeeper.
Thank you, TJ. So, Erez Lampert, I'm from Israel, enjoying this midnight with you guys. So, thank you for inviting me. So, I joined the beautiful and amazing orthopedics and spine industry after spending 6 years working for Invisalign. I developed 3D intraoral cameras for them, worked on AI and 3D imaging, and basically helped to create the dentistry revolution that Invisalign created. And about 6 years ago, I met a professor from HSS, Professor Josh Schroeder, who basically told me, look, Erez, maybe we can do the same revolution that Invisalign did in dentistry and spine. And that's how PathKeeper started, bringing AI and optical 3D imaging into the spine industry. So I think that the form here is really very familiar with spine surgery, so I don't need to go into detail, but all of us know that surgeons, as much as they want to believe they are perfect, they are not perfect. There's a lot of times that surgeons make mistakes, and the data, the statistics are around that, and that brought the industry to try to help. So for many years, I think probably 10 or 15 years at least, a robotics and navigation system came into the market to try to help spine surgeons do better in basically putting screws. I mean, most systems today doesn't do much more than that. But the current solutions in the market are complex, they are expensive, they require a lot of hassle, a lot of infrastructure, and still need radiation in the surgery room. And I think one of the biggest problems in those solutions, that's what I call they're static. So the surgeons go into the room, take a CT scan, and now they're hoping that everything is stable during the surgery. And everybody that's been in the surgery room with spine know that orthopedics, even spine surgeons, but orthopedic surgeons are not really gentle. They're working and they're pushing very hard on the bone, they're cutting, they're creating a lot of movement. And the assumption that the spine is a rigid body, and if you put a clamp somewhere on the spine, all the other vertebrae will stay the same, is not really realistic. And surgeons understand that the technology today is very, very limited. So I think everybody knows that, but before we go into how we solve the problem, the spine industry is big and interesting. And I believe that PathKeeper, which we will tell you soon about, has really two nice opportunities, two very interesting places where the current solutions fail. The first one is pediatric deformity. Also, posterior cervical. But if you look at pediatric deformity as an example, you see a complex surgery with a lot of corrections, a lot of movement, a lot of sensitivity for radiation. So if you're using an O-arm that scans maybe 3 vertebrae at a time, and might need to do 4 or 5 O-arm spins in one surgery, that's thousands of X-ray for teenage girls. In addition, it's an hour or plus wasted in a long enough surgery as well. The second edge of the solution that needs support is the ASC, the ambulatory surgery centers, small private hospitals. There's a lot of growth there, but we all know that they're doing the simple cases. They're doing decompressions, they're doing interventional pain. If we can bring T-lifts into the ASC market and create a consistent way to do T-lifts in the ASC market, we will create a big change in how the spine industry operates. And everybody is trying to do that. So let's talk about how PathKeeper can create a solution for pediatrics, ASC, and posterior cervical. Basically, all the edge of spinal surgery. So our technology starts with 2 very important items. The first one is anatomical intelligence. We have used the recent development in AI to create basically a platform that analyzes the CT of the spine, creating a 3D model of each and every vertebra that is completely segmented and analyzed. So the computer knows what is L2, the computer knows where is the end plate, the computers know where is the pedicle, and how they relate to L3, L4, and so on. So you can imagine, when you combine that with real-time 3D optical imaging, now the computer basically has eyes that can measure. So it's like improved eye. Now we can really track the anatomy. Each and every vertebra is tracked in real time during the surgery, allowing the surgeons to analyze stuff like, like wrong level. Everybody that's been in spine surgery know that wrong level is a huge problem, much bigger than what it's actually reflected in research. Because in most cases, surgeons will either find out that they're working on the wrong level during surgery, or find some excuse. Using AI and using real-time imaging, we can detect that the surgeon is working on the wrong level. We can eliminate the radiation from the surgery room because we're using optical laser imaging to track the bone during the surgery. So you don't need to trust on the CT scan, on the clamp, and hope the clamp is been stable during the surgery. The results is really different type of accuracy. So we have received approval from the FDA to say that we have sub-millimeter registration and tracking accuracy. Now, if you look at Globus, for example, or Medtronic, the high-end solutions in the market, they will give you results on pedicle breach on L5. Nobody is willing to say here, FDA listening and everything, what is the real accuracy compared to where the surgeon wanted. PathKeeper can say that, got FDA approval to say we have sub-millimeters, so we have a really unique level of accuracy. System is different design, small, simple to use, easy and mobile. And because of the unique combination between AI and 3D optical imaging, we can do so much more. So finally, we can go beyond navigating pedicle screws. We can measure alignment of the surgery in real time. We can navigate osteotomies. We can do interbodies. We are working with Mayo on doing vertebral body tethering. All of these are additional applications that PathKeeper can bring into the market in a very unique way. The basic system, the navigation system with wrong level and optical accuracy is already FDA-cleared. And we have installations in Israel and in the United States. And we have really, really good results already coming from surgeries. For the investors of you, we are starting to sell, so we are an early commercial company. Funnel is growing, and we are basically having a new installation every month now. And we've created an initial distribution network around the United States, have a really nice relationship with GPOs, starting to create contracts, really building the infrastructure between KOL, distributors, and GPOs to really take us to the next level of growth.
That's great. Erez, I hate to interrupt, but we need to switch to Q&A at this point in time.
Sure.
Jeff?
Yeah, Erez, thank you for the presentation. Very good technology. Just a couple questions that pop in my head immediately is, what is the revenue model that you guys are looking at in the States, at least?
Right. The simple revenue model is basically capital plus consumables. Classic revenue model, our list price is relatively competitive, is lower than O-arm, lower than 7D, lower than competitors. And we have really, really good gross margin, even at a relative lower ASP that we foresee. I think part of our growth methodology will be to work together with implant companies. I don't want to go into names too much now, but we are already in really significant discussions and partnerships with both small and big implant companies, allowing mostly to the smaller or medium-sized implant companies to bundle and fight the big companies that already have million-dollar solution, head-to-head with a better, nimbler solution that is also more cost-effective.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, Rez, great presentation here, and this was a good slide to land on as it relates to the funding ask and use of proceeds. As it relates to technology, you brought up, Globus and others who have had a footprint in the robotic and navigation space for a while. This seems more in line with 7D, who has had tremendous success. What do you see as the comparisons maybe to 7D, and then any hurdles in commercialization into an existing market?
Yeah, so the easy comparison to 7D from technology perspective is looking at the camera. As I mentioned, my background is developing 3D cameras, and we develop our own 3D camera, really suitable for the surgery room. So we have roughly 10x higher resolution than 7D. That allows us to work in significantly smaller incision. We have been just vetted by one of the implant companies and showed them that we can do 1 inch, 1.5 inch incisions, do unilateral approaches. So by having really high-end, high-resolution camera that is really suitable to the surgery room, we can do so much more than anybody else. The second element that 7D doesn't have is really AI at the level of really segmentation and analysis. So today we can really look at each and every vertebra, and we have features like bridge detection, like spinal alignment measurements in real time. So we have more and more features that use the fact that the computer and the 3D camera knows each and every vertebra and can measure and analyze them in real time. So for example, the wrong level detection that I mentioned. To have wrong level detection, you need to understand that you're looking at the L3 now, and you think you're an L3, but you're actually an L4. That requires an AI level that I don't think any other company has in the market, including 7D. And just as a start,
And then maybe to tag on to Chris's question prior, so I think you mentioned that you've commercialized. How has early commercialization gone over the last 12 to 18 months? And how do you anticipate that getting to where you think you're going?
Right. So we started with, alpha and beta stages, really putting systems in the market, giving them to surgeons to get feedback and keep improving. It's not enough to have a sub-millimeter accuracy system. It has to be easy to use and fun to use for the surgeon. So we spend a lot of time improving workflows, improving surgical tools to fit them to the system. I think now we're in the stage that we are basically putting a system for evaluation every month in a new hospital, and we are currently limited by our resources. So we have basically a waiting list of about 10 hospitals. And we have, at the moment, 1 sales manager in the United States. So we have the ability, the resource ability to do 1 installation in the United States every month. So that's our current timeline. Hopefully, when we finish our fundraising, we hire a few more salespeople and can go from 1 installation per month to 3, 4, maybe 5, according to our growth and our distribution relationship and so forth. But at the moment, we want very, very controlled and efficient installation. So this month, we are working with Prisma in South Carolina. October, we are working with Valley Presbyterian in Los Angeles. November is Mayo Clinic, and so forth. We really have a plan 1 by 1 in the United States to continue to grow. For us, it's a nice way to prove product market fit and keep improving. And as I said, the goal is to hire a few more guys and basically do the same thing, but 3 times or 4 times over.
Thank you. A real quick question, Rez, because I know we're going to be running tight on time. Relative to the footprint in the OR, just for the navigation element, what does that look like? And the second question quickly is, how big is the database you're utilizing from an image standpoint for this to be AI learning?
Right. So the footprint is very small. It's basically a camera on a stand. Think about illumination stand, and in the end you have a 7-pound camera, very small, very mobile. There is this small video in LinkedIn that Jay Pendleton raised of two guys lifting the system, including the weights into a car. So it's really something that two guys can put on a car, drive, and in less than an hour assemble in a new surgery room. So really easy to move, very mobile. Me and Ryan, the chief commercial officer, have done that all across the United States. Just two guys in a car, and we can move the system. Regarding the database, that's a bit more complex questions. There's two elements here. One is the CT scans, and we have several thousands of CT scans of spinal surgeries that we analyze for parameters and measurements and analyzing rotations and correction. And then there is the database, which is much more unique, is that what's happened during the surgery. So analyzing the surgery process, analyzing correction, movement, using our 3D camera and augmenting that with the CT and what's happening with the tools. For that, we have a few hundred of surgeries that really give us unique understanding of what's happening during surgeries that I don't think anybody has, because nobody knows what the surgeon is actually doing real time during surgery. So this is one of the unique databases that we are still collecting, still creating, and gives us some unique advantages.
Wonderful. Well, Rez, thank you very much for the presentation. We'll keep things moving over to Hein at SentryX.
Thank you so much, and good night for everybody. Have a great day.
All right. So can everybody see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No. Can you guys hear me yet?
No?
We can. You're back.
All right.
There we go. We can see your screen now. That's perfect.
Perfect. Well, thanks, TJ, and thanks, Erez, for the presentation as well. My name is Hein. I'm the VP Strategy at SentryX, a Dutch biopharmaceutical company developing implantable anesthetics, a new non-opioid approach to pain management after major surgery. My colleague Floris and I had the pleasure of meeting Drew DeAngelis and Chris, for that matter, a few months back, and we were very intrigued by the story on MSK innovation. So we appreciate the opportunity of pitching for you here today. Now, as many of you will know, the demand for spine fixation procedures is increasing rapidly. And to keep up with the anticipated growth, we really need to move towards ambulatory spine care. A recent survey among more than 250 spine surgeons from around the world connected to AO Spine indicated that post-surgical pain is the #1 bottleneck for early mobilization and recovery. And with our team and technology, we at SentryX believe that we are uniquely positioned to solve this issue. Some facts and figures. So currently, more than 1 million spine fixation procedures are done every year in Europe and the US, and this number is expected to more than double in the next 10 years. Our current healthcare capacity is already stretched thin, and patients still stay in the hospital for more than 3 days on average, and this is mostly due to pain and opioid-related side effects. Now, if we can improve pain management after surgery, we can save more than 3,000 euros per procedure, resulting in a total addressable market of more than 8 billion euros. And this is what we've been working on for the last few years. So implantable anesthetics, you can see it. It's the orange ring on the left here. It can be fitted around any commercially available medical screw. And what it is, it's a reformulation of bupivacaine, which is a well-known and approved local anesthetic that's been on the market and in wide use for more than 50 years. Using ultra-innovative hydrogel technology, it provides sustained delivery at the surgical site, where it blocks local pain nerves for more than 3 days. They're very easy to co-implant, they're highly elastic and fully biocompatible, and they dissolve in the body completely. Now, we've recently tested these implantable anesthetics in humans for the very first time, and in 11 patients undergoing spine fixation surgery with these hydrogel rings. The most important thing was that there was no safety concerns related to these rings or to the bupivacaine they contain. Now, what we also did is we compared these phase 1B data to a recent observational study in the same hospitals with the same surgeons, same types of patients undergoing the same types of procedures as well. And what we saw is a 52% reduction in opioid use and a 36% reduction in pain scores in the first 3 days. Now, these results are fully in line with what is known from the use of bupivacaine in lumbar spine surgery, except that the effects last much longer, which makes it such a critical de-risking step. And using literature benchmarks, we know that results like these can have profound impacts on opioid-related complications, lengths of hospital stays, hospital readmissions, and other things. Now, as I mentioned before, by improving pain management, we believe we can save more than 3,000 euros per procedure. And when we adopt a value-based pricing method with a relatively conservative peak market penetration and favorable gross margins due to our in-house scalable production process, we envision peak revenues of more than 1 billion. The regulatory trajectory is pretty clear. So in Europe, implantable anesthetics are considered a drug, and in the US, they are regarded as a drug-led drug-device combination, which means we'll have to file for an MAA in Europe or an NDA in the US. Now, as I said, we've just finished up our first in-human clinical trial, and we're currently gearing up towards one large randomized controlled trial in Europe, covering about 200 patients across 10 to 15 hospitals. Now, based on feedback from regulatory consultants as well as regulatory authorities, one single well-controlled trial should be enough for an early application of marketing approval in both Europe and the US. We have very strong IP position and full freedom to operate. We have 7 patents covering the concept of attaching these implantable anesthetic to surgical implants, as well as the underlying hydrogel technology and key process steps in manufacturing. Our team spans the full width of drug development, and we're also supported by a strong team of strategic advisors and key opinion leaders, with a special mention to Alex Vocaro, Ilya Loffer, Charles Fisher, and Rick Simmons, who's been of great help on the US business development side. Our go-to-market strategy rests on 4 main pillars. So first off, it's the de-risk product development I've mentioned before. So one single pivotal combined phase 2-3 trial augmented by early HTA data. Second, there's a lot of end user enthusiasm from the field, and we're really trying to leverage this during and after the clinical trials. Third, we think it makes a ton of sense to absorb these, from an economic standpoint, to absorb these treatments into the DRG, but we're also exploring eligibility for reimbursement. And we believe there's a high likelihood that we can do so in both Europe and the US. Take, for example, the No Pain Act, which is about to take effect in 2025, which provides separate reimbursement for non-opioids in the outpatient setting. There's still several possible pathways, by the way, just because of the novelty of the approach. And last but not least, we're really trying to build industry support as we're looking to engage in a strategic partnership for the marketing, distribution, and sales. Now, the investment opportunity is as follows. We're currently finishing up a 10 million convertible loan agreement led by the European Investment Bank, which will convert under favorable terms and conditions during a Series B next year, which will be a 45 million equity round led by a professional lead investor. There's still some flexibility to the structure, but if you want to hear more about this or the technology or anything else, really, I'm happy to take some questions. So thanks. And with that,
thank you.
I'll stop sharing my screen as well.
Great presentation.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was fantastic and really promising data there early on. Hein, is just on the technical side, are there any interference issues with the screw being able to reach depth by having that spacer there? And I assume it dissolves after that happens. Is there any issue with having, screws prouder than they should be?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's also one that the surgeons are very inclined to ask. So there's no interference expected at all. These screws are polyaxial, which means there's some spacing between the screw head and the bone surface in any case. And the ring is designed to be so flexible that even if you completely put on maximum torque on the screw, it just sort of shapes to where it needs to go and really doesn't interfere with the placement or function at all.
Great.
So you had a list, or ASP, I should say, of 1080 euros. Is that per screw, or is that a set of 4? How's it packaged in that regard?
Yeah, thanks. Good question. So a lot of that's still open for discussion, really. The 1080 is a figure that's an average between Europe and the US, and that's per procedure pricing. So we talked to some various end users and also healthcare administrators, and they figured that 30 to 40% of the cost savings is a realistic estimate at this stage. However, as we go forward, moving towards the early commercial stage, we're really filling the details there.
Okay.
And the assumption is about 6 rings per procedures on average.
Okay. Thanks.
Can you, I know you kind of got cut short there again. Can you review the financing ask one more time? 10 million in a convertible note, 12 million raised to date.
Yeah, so we did the total funding ask to get to the end of the phase 2/3 trial is 55 million, and currently it's split up into a Series A and a Series B. So the Series A is a convertible note that's 10 million. The European Investment Bank is taking the lead on that. They're setting the terms, they're setting the conditions as well, and that's part of the ERC Accelerator program. That's one of the most competitive blended finance instruments in the European Union. We got it as one of the few companies who were lucky enough to get it, so happy about that. And these, under pretty favorable terms and conditions, this note's going to convert on the Series B, which is the other 45 million. And one of the most important terms from the European Investment Bank is that for that round, we need a professional lead investor. And if we do, then the European Investment Bank can match another 7 to 8 million in that round as well.
Thank you.
Great. And that should be all you need to raise to get all the way through to commercialization? Or does it take you beyond commercialization?
No, I think it's going to take us to the end of the phase 2/3 trial. And then after that, it's going to be applying for marketing approval and, of course, market introduction. So there's going to be additional costs after that.
Okay.
But what it will effectively buy is hopefully compelling evidence of the safety and efficacy of this drug, and some HTA data to support the economics as well.
Got it.
I see a question in the chat from Nick Pisciuto around how does this differentiate from Ally Therapeutics?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So the first way it differentiates is by indication. So Ally Therapeutics is knee surgery. And the second way it differentiates, it's the technology itself. So LA uses PLGA layers, which slowly dissolve, and as they dissolve, they release bupivacaine, which is the same active ingredient, really. We use more tissue-like biomaterials that are very, we believe, much more pliable. Which opens up the range for various types of procedures that we're not sure LA can go to. However, at this stage, it's really great that LA has been doing the work they're doing, because they're working towards a very similar philosophy as we are. They're well funded. They're having good clinical results. So we're just happy to see that they're making progress.
So are they through the work that they've done? Can you get any inkling from the success they're having with reimbursement, even if it is a different procedure relative to spine?
Not yet really, because they're also still a clinical stage company. So it's I don't think they're totally out of the woods on the reimbursement part yet either.
There's another question in there. I don't know if you can hear me, from Ted Bird.
Yeah.
Asking if you have
Welcome back.
Any clinical sites in the U.S., Hein?
Not yet. So our strategy now is to conduct the large trial in Europe. So that's both for logistical and also to reduce a little bit of variability there. The FDA has already indicated they will accept out of US data on this one. So that's we can actually go with a European trial and then file for marketing approval in the US as well. However, we're keeping the option open to do like a few sites in the US for some additional data or an IND. But the primary strategy is to conduct the trial in Europe.
And David Kurt had a question too. Is there any risk of last when using multiple screws?
No, so that's actually the beauty of it. So last is usually caused, local anesthetic systemic toxicity is actually usually caused by inadvertent intravascular injection. So the use of these rings pretty much eliminates that risk. And also when we look at the pharmacokinetic data that we've seen in humans in this phase 1B trial, usually what you see is that the limit for the dosing with injections is actually the systemic toxicity line of about 2,000 nanograms per milliliter. These injections are right below that toxicity line. We have about a 10-fold to 15-fold safety margin just because of the extended release. So by really ensuring continual local delivery of the drug, we have high local exposure, but actually very low systemic exposure. Now, to be fair, we've only tested in 4 and 6 rings in the phase 1B trial, and then we have this large safety margin. So it stands to reason that we can actually increase the number of rings quite a bit before we run into any systemic toxicity troubles. But of course, we have to test that before we can go there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Very intriguing.
Thank you, Hein. Great presentation. And we'll keep it moving. And
Welcome.
Good night, Hein. Thanks for joining us.
Hein, thank you very much for joining.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right. We'll pass it off to Greg, your final presenter with Endeavor.
Excellent. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
We've got it.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm Greg Parranto, the CEO of Endeavor Orthopaedics. I spent the first 12 years of my career in the Army, and then the next 16 years with Synthes and Johnson & Johnson in leadership roles in sales, product development, marketing, and contracting. I was the National Director of Extremity Sales for 3 years, and then spent the last 4 years as the Vice President of Trauma and Extremities for the Midwest area. This past December, I joined Endeavor Orthopaedics at an exciting time for the company. Our first product was FDA-cleared and commercially available in limited release, and the company is poised to expand and grow. But in order to do this at the pace that we would like to, I need to raise some capital. So who are we at Endeavor? Endeavor Orthopaedics is an IP-protected platform technology company focused on the treatment of avulsion fractures, a greater than $2 billion market. We're the first company to treat these fractures through the integration of bony fixation with soft tissue management and one sterile implant kit. We were able to get to FDA clearance with just over $2 million raised, and we're now focused on closing our $2 million convertible note, which as of today, we've raised $1.56 million. And after we close that, we'll move on to an $8 million equity round, which we hope to launch at the end of this month. And those funds will focus on growing our commercial organization, rapidly growing our sales, and expanding our product portfolio. So why tackle avulsion fractures? First of all, they're notoriously difficult fractures to fix with a reoperation rate up to and over 50%. And furthermore, they represent just over 9% of the 6.5 million fractures to occur in the United States annually. Our first product, the Summit Patella Plating System, addresses fractures in the kneecap, one of the most challenging avulsion fractures that is very well documented with over 50% reoperation rate. The average cost of these reoperations is just over $45,000 in the inpatient setting. And our product has just under a $5,000 average sales price. And we're seeing less than a 5% reoperation rate with the 88 cases that we've conducted so far. So Endeavor's solution is unique in that we provide a low profile plate fixation with integrated soft tissue management. Our 13 patents revolve around that suture plate interface, the zip knot technology, and then the specific anatomical applications. Having the sutures integrated into the plate, we enable the surgeon to address the bony fracture, but then tension the tendon to the implant, offloading the extensor forces from the bony fragment to the implant. That enables early mobilization while allowing the underlying bone time to heal. And the primary feedback that we're getting from surgeons, after the first time that they use it, is they're just amazed with how easy it is to tether into that tendon and achieve the appropriate tension, resulting in significant, OR time savings and for their patients. So if we look at this is really our product pipeline. Like we said, our patella plating system is on the market. We're well on our way to our first 100 surgeries. Our elbow or olecranon implant, we have our IP prototypes. We've got a couple of different prototypes right now that I'm actively getting feedback from surgeons on. We are working towards our FDA submission and plan to launch this product in mid-2025. And then for the shoulder and the hip, we have IP already in place, and we have some initial implant designs, and we plan on launching those aggressively once we launch our elbow implant. If we look at the competitive landscape, right now these treatment, these fractures are treated with K-wires, cannulated screws, and sutures through a tensioning technique and tension band technique, and then you have anatomical plates. However, there's nothing on the market that combines that soft tissue and focuses on offloading deforming forces. And then the important note on this slide is that we've seen 0 implant failures, and again, less than a 5% reoperation rate, which is significantly, better outcomes than anything else currently available on the market. A quick financial summary. Our goal is to achieve or to be trending towards 20 million in revenue by 2027. And hearing a bunch of background noise. Can everybody hear me?
Can hear you.
I've got
You guys hear me? Okay, awesome. So the goal is to get to be trending towards 20 million in revenue by 2027, and then seek an exit to a strategic in that same year. We also are shooting for an 85% gross profit margin. We're currently at about 80%, just over 80%. We expect to see improvement with volume and some manufacturing efficiencies. Already mentioned our average sales price, and then the nice thing is the last month we closed 350 of our convertible note, which gave me the trigger, the green light to go and hire a VP of sales to really focus on expanding our national distribution network. And the timing for that couldn't be better, as we've built up. We've used the first part of that note to build up inventory to support a full launch, and then also that distribution network, putting it in place prior to launching our elbow implant, is really our catalyst for growth at the end of 2025 and into 2026, because the elbow represents an $800 million market. Investment opportunity, like we said, we're doing a $10 million Series B, so it's a $2 million convertible note, $440,000 left on that, which has really allowed us to build our current launch inventory, full launch inventory, and then we'll hire the VP of sales. The $8 million equity raise, that's when it's really going to get fun. We're going to raise that so we can truly expand our commercial organization, both in operations, sales, and then product development, so we can accelerate the launch of the rest of the products in our portfolio. If we look at our exit strategy, like we said, we'd like to be trending towards 20 million and exit above the average multiple of 6.8 times revenue. This is just a sampling of some of the examples in this space. I was personally involved in the acquisition of Crossroads by DePuy Synthes. They had about 15 million in revenue. We acquired them for 220 million, so 12.8 times revenue. Love to emulate that exit. This is our team. I'd just like to highlight Dr. Brent Norris in the lower left-hand corner. He's the inventor, founder, very well-known orthopedic surgeon down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with the brains behind this solution. And then we'll jump on to just say thank you and highlight the equity raise. I'd love to work with anybody on this call to help us close out the convertible note and then initiate the equity raise. If there's any questions.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, great presentation, Greg. Good seeing you again, and congrats on the success with the patellar plates. One question from a clinical standpoint, I understand the need for the early immobilization. Are there any long-term issues with that continued immobilization as the patients move on with their lives?
So our goal is to have the early mobilization to enable the bone to heal. So right now with these avulsion fractures, either they mobilize and those tendons and those forces are operating on the bony fragments and fighting against the fixation that the surgeon is currently using, which causes that movement at the fracture site, the pain, the non-unions, and contributes to that reoperation rate. So our whole goal is to offload those deforming forces where you can still have the early mobilization and then allow the underlying bone to heal, which is the goal. Also, our plate is the thinnest plate on the market. And so we've had two of our reoperations, our patients that healed effectively 6 months post-op. They asked to have the implant removed because they were both elderly, a little bit frail, thinner patients. They could feel the implant in their knee, so they asked to have it removed. But again, that's less than 5% reoperation rate. Does that answer that, Jeff?
Yeah. So it's you're not putting enough stress on the hamstring tendon, for instance, or the quad to attenuate it. You're not reducing the range of motion. It's simply just taking that stress off the fracture.
Absolutely. So your extensor mechanism goes through your quadricep tendon through the implant instead of the patella, and then onto the patella tendon. Same thing with the elbow. We'll release the tension from the tricep muscle and tendon from the elbow, the olecranon, onto your total plate construct. So it'll be dispersed around the ulna, and you won't have that force acting on the olecranon, pulling apart that fracture. And you'll have the full mobilization of the joint. One of the principles of bone fixation. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Greg, for the presentation. Back in the day at Richards, I was a product manager for patellofemoral replacements. And so I sort of kind of get it in a roundabout way. With the avulsion fractures, how do they, is there any opportunity, because of the simplicity of your design and the simplicity of the kit, which I assume is all disposable,
Yep.
for taking these procedures more so to an ASC? I don't know if you think about any of those that you just mentioned, whether it's greater trochanter or otherwise, whether they do it strictly in the hospital.
So we're seeing about an 80-20 split right now. About 80% of our procedures are done in the hospital. But we have seen about 20% in the surgery center. It is a completely sterile kit, which is nice. As I think as we see more total knees and those type of procedures going to the ambulatory surgery center, we will see more in the ambulatory surgery center. So I think that's an advantage of our kit being sterile processed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So as it relates to early state of VAC committee thought processes around this, and what are the reactions, the good, the bad, the ugly, and also is the material titanium?
It is. So it's titanium with cobalt chrome screw. So they're all lock-in screws. Yep.
Okay.
So we've yet to go to a VAC committee and not get approved, which is great. The challenge is, I'm sure everybody on the call is aware, is getting to the VAC committee. We've got to get the champion that's willing to take it to the VAC committee. The key economic argument is, if it's a hospital that's using K-wires and cannulated screws, it's a reduction and improved patient care. Our cost is more expensive, but you look at that $45,000 reoperation cost, and it's a pretty straightforward argument. The hospitals that are using plates and screws right now, there are 2 companies that have patella plates. When we launch our Olecranon implant, there's 20 Olecranon plates out there. I mean, there's quite a few. A lot of companies have those elbow implants, but they're expensive. And for example, when we look at the Synthes plate and screw construct, we just got onto a large system, and they gave us the Synthes price. Their discounted price was up $3,800. But that was just for the plates and screws. And we went back to the VAC committee and highlighted that, ours comes with the K-wires, it comes with the drill bit, comes with the olive wires. And then once you've done that boning fixation, we've got the sutures attached to deal with the soft tissue management. If you use somebody else's plates and screws, you're pulling out something. You still have to address the soft tissue. So they're doing it as a kind of a secondary step in their procedure where it's integrated in ours. And we've been approved, on contract. That system we got in at $4,500. Another large system we're in at $4,950. And like I said, our ASP is $4,970 right now. So it's pretty good. It's just the challenge with patella fractures is it's a lower volume procedure. There's 52,000 patella fractures done in the U.S. every year, but it's spread out over 13,000 surgeons. So there's a lot of total knee surgeons might do 2 or 3 of these a year. And
exactly.
So that's the challenge, but it's a need. So it's really well accepted, but it's not high volume. The elbow is 800 million. So that's when we see that. Right now, we're just laying the foundation, getting the adoption, getting on contract. We'll launch the elbow, and that's when we're going to see that real uptick in revenue.
Mm-hmm. So that's what's going to move you from the 5, or maybe it was 7 to 20 plus
in revenue.
Yeah, I saw that jump between one year and the next. So
yeah. We right now we used our convertible note initial raise to build 620 sets. So I have 620 sets right now still on the shelf, which is just over $3 million in revenue. I think that's our goal for the next 12 months with our patella implant is to do around 2.5 million. So we've got the inventory to support that. The Olecranon implant is what's going to make that jump to 7 to 10 million, and then followed by the shoulder implant, that's when we'll be trending to the 15 to 20 million.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Yep.
Question from the audience from Ted Bird. How many sizes are needed / how many sizes do you have currently?
So we have 2. We have a small implant and a standard implant. And it's a pretty simple measurement. The surgeon measures the patella. If it's less than 50 millimeters, they go with the small. Right. If it's over 50, they go with the standard. Little bit different curvature to the 2 implants based on the size of the patella. But that's it. Just 2 kits right now, 2 SKUs. We'll have to have
are y'all manufacturing this from or is it 3D printed, or what's the scenario of the process for manufacturing?
So it's milled right now. Our plate is milled. It's a pretty intricate design where the suture enters laterally on the plate and then wraps around. So it's the tensioning of the zip knot allows you to just one-way tension that suture. So it's an extremely easy process to get that tension. It locks down, but the manufacturing process is very, very intricate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Chris, Jeff?
I do see another question that came in from KC, is there any IP on the suture portion as well? And or can any suture be used with the plating system if a physician were interested in using the different suture type and size?
So that most of our IP is around that suture plate interface. And our suture right now is a custom suture because there's a loop built into the suture that can attach to the plate through a cleat, and then you tension it. So surgeons love it. It's a very simple process, but we have our own custom suture that's made. And then our IP, we actually license some IP around the actual suture zip knot technology. And then we own the IP when it comes to the suture plate interface and the way it actually engages with. And
okay.
Yeah.
By any chance, is it a university you license that from?
It is not. It's another company that we licensed it from.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That's good.
Very good. Well, I was just going to thank everybody. Great presentations. Thanks for staying up late, Hein. Really appreciate it, and nicely done to all of you guys. Thank you to our panelists for your hard work and for joining us again. And unfortunately, Andy texted me that he couldn't log in, and it just wouldn't be the same if we didn't have technical difficulties. Just come to expect it and embrace it. It's part of the world we live in. Just wanted to thank the audience as well, the participants, and let you know that you can sign up for our next event, October 2nd. We have Ostech out of the UK. We have Kleiner Labs, a spine company here out of the US. And then Askell Therapeutics or Askell Healthcare out of Sweden, I believe. And so 3 great companies, very different. And we're really excited about that on October 2nd. If you are an innovator and you want to present on this platform, please go onto the website and apply. We're going to continue to do this monthly as long as there's a demand. So thank you to everybody for joining us. Appreciate it and wish you all the best.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks, Drew and TJ and everybody that presented.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thanks again for the opportunity. Thanks. Bye-bye.